Hello DevOps people, it's Friday, it's the Monospace Mentor Office Hour. I am Jochen, the Monospace Mentor. Welcome to my stream. I hope you're having a great day. I had a good day today, I have to say. So far so good. I had a nice morning and proper lunch. And now it's time to do the office hour. The office hour means that I'm only here to answer your questions. And you are here to ask questions. So join me on qa.monospacementor.com. and post your questions there, because that way I can get them on screen nicely and people who join the stream can always tell what I'm talking about. So qa.monospacementor.com, it's where it's at. You can of course also ask in chat, but I'll first look at qa.monospacementor.com. And another advantage of the Q&A platform over there is that you can even upvote other questions and get me to answer them more early. So, that being said, hey, H. Mendoza, how you doing? Good to have you. And Anotic D joining us as well. That's brilliant. I hope you're having a great day. How is everyone? Let me get finished setting up here. That's that. We can even take this full screen, I'd say. Let's try this. Okay, that's looking good. So yeah, let's go right into the QA screen here. That's where your questions will pop up when you join us on qa.monospacementor.com. And I need to set up a chat command that posts the link to chat as well, making it easier for everyone. So let me do that right away. How am I going to do that? I think that's going to be a companion button. Yeah, let's do it this way. Oh wait, just getting confused with all the screens. And getting confused also because I changed my window manager. On Tuesday, I'm going to give my first cohort-based course. It's going to be the Varnish Master Course. We're talking about web content delivery performance. And yeah, I decided to challenge myself by scheduling it for the end of February, only leaving me about 6 weeks of time to get everything prepared. And of course, I'm running late. And what do you do when you're running late writing course content? Well, you realize, oh, it's only a few days and I need to get this finished. So I'll go and deinstall GNOME and install Sway instead. So that's what I did, and yeah, I'm quite happy with my new window manager, and I just need to get used to it in terms of muscle memory. I'm used to Sway because I've been using it on my laptop for quite a while, but yeah, you know how it is with muscle memory. So let me quickly set up another button here. Create button, Q&A URL. That's going to be a Twitch message. That. Easy as that. Let me see if this works. It does. Brilliant. All right, yeah, so join us all on qa.monospacementor.com. It's where you can post your questions anonymously. You don't need an account. You don't need to leave your email, anything like that. It's just so I can more easily show on screen which answer, to what my answer is referring to, and so that'll make things much easier. If you have any questions about Linux system administration, about software engineering, about Ruby development in particular, about your IT career, all these things are great topics to talk about, and I'm more than happy to try and answer them as best I can. It's all up to you, because, yeah, I didn't prepare anything except for your questions. If you don't have any questions, that's fine as well. You can go ahead and say hello in chat and tell us what you're doing at the moment. But this is my office hour, so it's wholly dedicated to answering questions and drinking my coffee. And H. Mendoza, thanks for the compliment with the intro scene. Put a lot of work into it, and it's really nice to see that work appreciated. And of course, I didn't just change my window managers. Yes, I am prone to a little bit of procrastination, but I did work on my course materials, but there's still so much to do, so that'll keep me busy over the weekend. But that was, I guess, to be anticipated, because, yeah, last year I tried to get a complete Linux course off the ground, and that was, of course, much too ambitious, because creating the materials for that is really, really a lot of work. And so I wasn't quite happy with my accomplishments in terms of teaching last year. And so in my personal retreat that I did between Christmas and New Year's, I decided, okay, let's take a more concise topic and do a course on that in Q1. And I guess, yeah, I wanted to challenge myself, so I didn't put it into March, but to schedule it for the end of February, namely February 27th, which is next Tuesday. And yeah, I started working towards that. And then I realized, yeah, there's so much stuff to do, not only in terms of the course materials, but also in terms of promotion, in terms of setting up the website, setting up course registration, payment processes, all these things. That was a lot of work, and fortunately this work only needs to be done once, but it needed to be done once for this course because it is the first cohort-based course that I'm giving. And so, yeah, the success that this course already has, with quite a few people having signed up, and so I already made a 4-figure revenue on that course, is quite nice, but it's also increasing the pressure, because now there are real people having paid real money for me to deliver something of value. And yeah, that'll mean that I'll have to put in a lot of work in the next few days to get everything finished, to also integrate the Q&A platform, which you're seeing right now. Of course, I'm going to employ that as well during my course, where people can leave questions, upvote questions from others, and I'll also use polls and quizzes to keep people engaged and make sure they can take away the important points. That will definitely take some getting used to, because yeah, that's the quality I'd like to deliver my courses with, and yeah, giving myself a high bar to cross. If you've just joined, this is the Monospace Mentor Office Hour, which means you determine what we're going to talk about. You ask the questions. Simply go to qa.monospacementor.com and leave your questions there. They'll pop up on screen immediately. You can also upvote questions by others if you find them interesting or intriguing. And I'll do my best to answer your questions, regardless if they are about IT in general, software engineering, or more specifically, maybe Ruby coding or Linux system administration, which I've been doing since 1993. All these topics are great to ask questions about in this office hour, which I'm going to do at least until 3 o'clock my local time, so for another 40 minutes or so. But if we get enough questions and if we're all having fun, then we can also extend the office hour to a little bit more, which is usually what happens. Rarely do I wrap things up on the hour. Mostly we go over. But it's up to you. We can also leave without any questions. Oh no, we can't leave without any questions, because there's the first one here on screen. Android versus iOS, which do you prefer and why? Elaborate. That's quite easy for me to answer. It's our iOS, because at the beginning of the 2000s I discovered well, I didn't discover, but I started using Apple devices. I started with a MacBook. So other Apple devices followed. I got an iPhone, an iPad, and nowadays, while I left Apple in terms of my computers, I'm now only using Linux on my computers here on my desktop workstation, as well as on my laptops. I still use two iPads, an iPad Pro, which I have on my desk here and can use for scribbling on stream, for example. But also an iPad mini that I mostly use for reading and things like that. And I still have my iPhone, and I'm pretty much now tied to the Apple ecosystem. Of course, I could switch to Android if I really, really wanted, but I actually don't see the point in doing that. Well, mostly, at least. I couch this a little bit because lately I don't like what I see Apple doing with their strange legal moves, especially here in the EU. That's why I actually looked into what switch to Android, or maybe at least switch to Android-based phones and then reinstalling a more open operating system like Graphene OS, for example, would entail. But I realized I would lose so many apps that I'm really, really used to and that actually contribute to me being productive. And so I guess Apple needs to screw up a little bit more before I jump ship. Otherwise, I don't see... I would probably also see a reason to switch from Android if I had been using that for many years. I'm pretty sure that applications over there are just as capable. And maybe the switch to a more open and privacy-oriented OS like Graphene OS would actually be easier. But I don't really know if you are a Graphene OS user, for example. You, please pop into chat and let us know about your experience and what got you there. I'd be pretty interested in that, actually. Duke, hello, wrote, I got an iPhone 11 yesterday just for mobile app development stuff at work. Quite an upgrade from an iPhone 6S. Yeah, that's definitely the case. I only switch iPhones every so often. These things are so powerful, and I don't really use the hardware that much. I'm more interested in the software, actually, in the apps. So I don't do much photography, so the latest lens system and things like that really isn't interesting to me. That's why I switched from an iPhone XR to the iPhone 13, which I'm using right now, and I'll probably switch to a 16 maybe when it comes out. I have no idea. Yes, why do you want? Just asking. Welcome to the stream. It's the Monospace Mentor Office Hour, where I answer your questions. If you have any questions for me, post them on qa.monospacementor.com. In terms of tablets, I'm pretty disappointed in how limited the iPads still are. I, of course, dreamt of taking an iPad with me, maybe with a Bluetooth keyboard and using it as my mobile computing platform. But it's far too limited, and yeah, once you got used to using a laptop with all its abilities, then I don't see how you can actually go into limit yourself to a tablet. And there is a macOS question. Do you have any experience with macOS? Yes, I do, but it's not very recent because I switched to Linux over the last few years, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute, but let's finish the questions. MacBook Pro recently started acting weird and it lost its date/time tracking, resetting it to like May 2023, leading to all sorts of issues, of course. Manual NTP sync works for a very short time, but then it just resets itself again. Reboot and like SMC reset didn't help fixing the issue. Any ideas, suggestions? It's out of warranty. I don't know, and that's definitely a question the Apple support should be able to answer much better than me. It sounds like a hardware issue, though. It sounds like the real-time clock on the logic board itself is somehow screwed up. What makes it even stranger is that if you do an NTP sync, that it resets itself again during runtime. That's even with a broken real-time clock. The operating system itself should keep the NTP time running. So this is really strange. I've never heard of anything like it. And yeah, that's definitely something I would call Apple support. Foolish Snobble, snarky as always. Welcome to the stack. MacBook behaving weird is just Apple's way of telling you need to buy a new one. I don't think so. Actually, these Apple devices are so long-lived nowadays that it must be a headache for product managers at Apple, because on one side they can really pride themselves of building so resilient hardware and machines that you will be able to use for years on end. But then again, that means people won't buy new stuff anytime soon. Yes, of course, planned obsolescence is a thing, but I personally don't think Apple is doing that. Sometimes it looks like it, but I think there's no real evidence that Apple is employing tactics like that. MacBook 2018 gave up 2020. Well, that's bad, but that's also unusual. As I said, I have been using MacBooks since 2000, I think. So for 20 years, about, until I wanted to have more GPU power than even the highest end iMac was able to provide me with. So I said, okay, let's get a machine that can run Windows and has an NVIDIA card in it. And let's try Windows and WSL. But that didn't hold long because I installed Linux desktop as dual boot, and then I found myself working in Linux almost all the time. And then I actually learned how to run Windows games on Linux as well. And that basically was the death knell for Windows, and that led to me now running Linux as a desktop on all of my machines. So it wasn't being dissatisfied with Apple in general, but with the hardware capacity of some of their machines, and also with how they dealt with software sandboxing and things like that, because I felt as a developer and administrator I got limited more and more, and that's why I was then looking for greener pastures. But until that point, I was very happy with hardware resiliency. I used MacBooks, I used MacBook Airs, I used Mac Minis, all kinds of stuff. My last two workstation machines were iMacs. I never had to complain a lot. I had one MacBook that almost melted in my backpack because for some reason it turned on in my backpack, or it woke up in my backpack, and when I opened the backpack I got a wave of hot air in my face. The fans of the laptop were running at full speed, and the machine didn't turn on anymore, so the logic board was broken. I got it replaced, I think even within warranty, and never had to complain again. Oh, I just realized that my screen is blanking after some time. Yeah, I think Fullesnabel, you were unlucky, and of course that happens. You're right. I'm not sure why it didn't turn off. I mean, it shouldn't even have woken up in the first place, but yeah. Something like an emergency switch off based on temperature should be a thing. No idea. All right. So let's go into this question and see. That's why I ask you to post on qa.monospacementor.com, because I can highlight the question that I'm answering. And that makes it much easier for people who are just joining the stream to know what I'm talking about. Z-Shell is giving me messed up output for me. I think it's due to wind size is not getting updated. So what can I do to fix? That's still very unspecific. Maybe you can rephrase that a little bit more precise so I know what actually the problem is. Because messed up output cannot mean all kinds of stuff. So let's park this and get to it later again. Oh, here's a nice question that's non-technical. What countries besides Germany and Ireland have you been to for like a vacation or business trip? And which of them did you enjoy the most and why? Which countries do you still want to travel to at some point? Last question first. I'm really interested in Thailand. Mostly because it was, maybe still is, quite the destination for digital nomads and people working online like me and many other people. And I'm really curious, not only, of course, how working from Thailand would look like, but also because I'm interested in their culture as well. I have never been to Asia yet, so places like Thailand, also Japan, of course, would be quite interesting. Unfortunately, these trips are pretty expensive, so I did not get to them yet, but I definitely have them on my bucket list. Countries I have visited have been, for example, Spain, and I really like Spain. I speak a little bit of Spanish, and I really enjoyed being in Barcelona for conferences. And last year, my family and I actually spent the Easter holidays in Valencia, which is also a very nice town. Lots of historic stuff there as well. And of course, very nice weather compared to Ireland. Not only because it rains less, I guess. Yeah, it definitely rains less. I think they have 300 sun or rainless days over there per year, I think. It's actually pretty dry. Not sure how I felt. I felt about that, but it's definitely one of the countries I could imagine myself living. Which countries? Most of the countries I visited was for conferences and things like that. So almost all of them were quite short stays. I've been a lot to Italy, not only for conferences, but also for holidays. I like Italy as well. I had 8 years of Latin at school, so there are definitely ties to Italy and its history. And maybe it's also because of the languages, because Italian and Spanish are both very related Romanian or Roman-based languages, and so speaking Italian wouldn't be a huge challenge for me either. But I would prefer going to Spain for living there. UK, of course, I visited a lot. I do like Scotland, probably because it's so similar to Ireland in terms of the landscape and the Celtic origins and things like that. Duke says Latin probably would have become handy if I had become a Catholic priest. Definitely, yes. That wasn't why I took Latin. I got Latin right when I switched to secondary school. So my future profession wasn't a topic back then, but it was quite interesting. And I guess I was always interested in languages, and I have an easy time learning languages. I just didn't have the time to learn more of them. Otherwise, I would probably try and learn Japanese, because it really is going to be a challenge, other than, say, Italian or Spanish. But yeah, learning Japanese would probably also require quite some time, which I don't really have. Let me think if there are more countries. I should have I should be able to list more countries there. But yeah, I guess conference stays don't really count, and you actually also wrote for like a vacation. Oh well, business trip, yeah. So business trips, I've been all over Europe, and also I did DrupalCon US. Or DrupalCon North America one time. I flew to Baltimore and participated in DrupalCon over there, which was also a lot of fun. It was so far my only stay in the US, and I found it quite interesting. Baltimore is, at least the parts that I saw, really nice, and I really enjoyed my stay at the aquarium over there, which is a huge place full of fish of all kinds of sizes. And I spent a whole day in there preparing a talk, which I gave at the conference, and enjoying the serene atmosphere in there, and it was really nice. Other than that, I'm pretty centered on, I've been pretty centered on Europe so far. Let's get back to the more technical question. By messed up output, I meant something like this example. After typing CD tab, it would show CD desktop, but I'm getting CD desktop. If I type long commands, it won't show starting part. Control L will fix for that time, but it's not practical for hitting. Yeah, of course. And you don't want to clear your screen all the time because, yeah, you might need the output. So that sounds like an issue with the terminal emulation, actually. I would recommend checking your term environment variable and maybe researching things like term cap or something like that. Because if your terminal doesn't interact with the screen in a way that you would expect it to, so the cursor ends up in places where it doesn't belong, or you delete stuff and it's not actually deleted, or other stuff is deleted that's not supposed to be. So all these things point to some issue with your terminal emulation. The thing is, all these terminal applications basically emulate the terminals of old, which were mostly teletype printers, and so you had to send specific commands to get them to do stuff, and that's the same today, where your terminal emulator, short terminal, will send specific codes to the console and expecting it to do something like delete a character, clear the screen, or move the cursor to some place. And if that terminal emulation is off, that usually results in things like you describe. The reset command usually resets the terminal if it has been screwed up for some reason. For example, if you output a binary file to the terminal by accident, in these bytes that are sent to the terminal, there might be command codes that completely confuse it. And usually the reset command then gets your terminal back on track. But if it keeps behaving like that without you sending binary garbage to it in the first place, then I'd basically look into how your particular terminal is set up. And the term and environment variable in all caps is usually an indicator what you can search on DuckDuckGo or somewhere. Let's catch up with chat first. Duke said, I don't know how I feel about Latin. It's a dead language, more or less. I'd rather learn a language I can use in my daily life. Yeah, I agree. If you don't do it as a hobby or for a professional reason because you want to become a priest or more likely a doctor or something like that, then it really helps. But otherwise, I definitely learn a language that you can apply in practice. Nowadays, I would still be interested in learning Latin if I hadn't learned it in school, because I'm very interested in the classic philosophy, especially Stoicism, and being able to read Seneca and Epictetus and people like that is quite interesting and makes this whole thing a little bit more fun. Fuller's Novel wrote in chat, I don't know if you saw the nerdy terminal thing I did. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, okay, let's see. Recreating ST-NIC in F# and Windows Terminal. ST News International Christmas Coding Convention. Okay. I'll have a look at that. Yep, saw the Linux laptop question, so let's get to that. But first, just a second, where's my mute button? Ah, it's so nice to have a mute button. Okay, if I would buy a Linux laptop, which should I look for? So when I bought my first Linux laptop after realizing I need Linux as my desktop again, I actually looked at one of the vendors that sell laptops with the express purpose of running Linux on them. In my case, I decided to get a laptop from Tuxedo, and I'm still using it, and it's great. Actually, first I thought I'd be clever and buy a laptop that is basically the same hardware from the parent company of Tuxedo, which is the Schenker Group, and they sell a Windows laptop that is basically the same hardware as the Tuxedo laptop, but it was a little bit cheaper, not much, but a little bit. And so I bought that one. And then I had to realize that Tuxedo actually doesn't just take these laptops and install Ubuntu on them, or their own Ubuntu derivative, but they also, for example, make sure that the hardware firmware does work with Linux. So I actually used the Schenker laptop for interns. I gave it to the intern and got myself a real Tuxedo Infinity book, and that works really, really nicely. And since it's built with everything being compatible with Linux, it's a very good experience, and I'm quite happy with the laptop. So there are other vendors like that. Slimbook in Spain, for example, is one. I know there's also Star Labs in the UK, but that of course would cause me to have to pay duty and taxes and stuff on top of the price of the laptop. So these are the usual suspects, and Duke is making a very good point, because Framework is also building laptops expressly for Linux. And what they have going for them on top of the Linux support is the repairability. And that is why my next laptop will either be a used one that is proven to be running with supported by Linux, so probably a Lenovo or something like that. Or if I really, really want to buy a new one, and I doubt that I want to run a new one because I don't need the horsepower of a brand spanking new laptop. But if I wanted to really spend the money, I would buy a Framework laptop, simply because it's a cause worth supporting. Being completely repairable and modular is something that is awesome, and I definitely would like to support Framework with my money. But as I said, I realized that buying used hardware is oftentimes sufficient. I learned that from my home lab server, where I bought a machine that once was a high-end workstation back in 2018, a Dell workstation, and even 5 or almost 6 years later, this thing is still holding up and delivering great performance. So I would definitely look into buying a used laptop. Because all these refurbished Lenovo laptops will work nicely with Linux, and you get great value for money. Say at $600 to $800, you probably get as much performance as you would get and use from a completely new machine. Yes, you might probably have to replace batteries, so I definitely would have to look at that, so that the battery is replaceable. So either buy something used and stop getting new plastics and stuff in circulation, or if you definitely have to buy something new for business reasons or for technical reasons, then get a Framework laptop. Any practical advice or suggestions on setting up an on-premise SMS GSM gateway connected to a server for sending and receiving SMS text messages, for sending out one-time passwords or something like this? That's something I've never dealt with, so I really can't give you any advice on that. My question would be, do you really have to run that yourself? Wouldn't be using a service like Twilio or so be the better option and much easier because you can do everything in software? I did look into sending my own SMS messages when I tried to build a completely local monitoring system, including sending alert SMS, but that was 15, 20 years ago. And there were, and then I realized, yeah, I can simply use a service that will send the SMS for me. I just have to submit them via email or via API. I don't know if they had an API back then, but there was definitely a way to pass on SMS messages to be sent. And I used that for a few weeks or months, but then I switched to a more holistic solution. I think that's when we switched to PagerDuty and had our alerts handled by them. Framework isn't available in Norway. That's sad. Yeah, Framework is still in the process of supporting more European countries. Unfortunately, Norway isn't among them yet. So have some patience or get something used. While you weren't just asking, also redeemed a hydrate, which I'll happily oblige with. Thank you for that. All the talking is making my throat dry. Keep posting your questions to qa.monospacementor.com and we'll get them on screen and hopefully answered by me. Compulsive Starter joining us and says, I'm quite happy with my Starlabs. Good to know. Colleague of mine has the small Starlabs one, the 10-inch, I think. And he's quite happy with it as well. It's really portable. I'm very happy to see, Duke, that you're also considering getting a used and refurbished one. Yeah, because just like my Dell workstation, there are so many resellers that buy up the stuff that companies shed when it's out of warranty. So after 3 or 5 years, all these things get replaced, but are still in great working order. And there are so many professional sellers on eBay where you can get something for maybe not the cheapest of prices, because the stuff is still working nicely, but still at a fraction of the original price. I think this workstation cost $2,000 or $3,000 when it was new, and I got it for 400 something. And then I put in a new NVMe drive and 128 gigabytes of RAM and 4 big hard drives, and now it's my home lab server, my NAS, and it's working really, really great. Of course, it's out of warranty, so if something breaks, I'd be SOL, I guess, but let's hope that I'll get my money's worth. Fudesnabel has high expectations, but yeah, I can relate. You want at our age, you simply want stuff to work, and not having to deal with replacement and repairs and things like that. Waiting 4 weeks for your laptop to return, maybe with the comment couldn't find a fault. That's just a hassle, and so buying, for example, a refurbished laptop would definitely be something that's still an option for you. Find a reseller that buys up all the stuff and refurbishes it and maybe gives you another 12 months of warranty. That's definitely a possibility. Star Labs, Central City, The Flash. Oh yeah, right. Yeah. Barry Allen worked at Star Labs, didn't he? I am absolutely not familiar with the DC universe anymore. I read DC comics as a kid, but nowadays Marvel is taking all my attention. Peak performance not needed, just needed to work. Strange, that's what my wife's saying about me. Which VM will you suggest for Linux? I think there are two great choices. I guess the easiest one is VirtualBox, because it's quite easy to install. It has support for all major Linux distributions. It will work on other operating systems as well. You can run it on Mac, you can run it on Windows. So that has a lot of stuff going for it. Of course, the downside is it's Oracle. And it does have limitations on the technical side as well. It requires specific kernel modules to work. That's not really great. But the easiest entry into running VMs on Linux is definitely VirtualBox. And I would suggest trying that out, and then going the way that I did. At one point, I simply decided to switch to KVM, which is the virtualization built into the Linux kernel. So it doesn't require third-party kernel modules. It runs out of the box. And if you need a graphical user interface, there's also virtual machine manager. That makes things easier for you, where you can set up your VMs in a graphical way. So that's the second option that I would recommend as your long-term solution. And Balthazar joining us says, VirtualBox does support KVM now, for what it's worth. That's true technically, but it requires that you compile stuff yourself. So that basically loses you the easy entry advantage, and getting KVM running and then simply using Virtual Machine Manager as your GUI will get you there more quickly, I think. Bethesda also suggests GNOME boxes. Yep, that's definitely also a great option. It's also KVM based, as far as I know. It's just a GUI on top, so it's an alternative to Virtual Machine Manager, especially if you're using the GNOME desktop anyway. Definitely give GNOME boxes a try. Yeah, okay, thanks for the confirmation, Balthazar. How are you today, by the way? Hope you're doing great. And I hope you can soon be off for the weekend. Duke says the laptop I have here right now is a few years old already. I think it's only cost €400 or something like that. It shows Lenovo IdeaPad with a Ryzen 7 and 12 gigabytes. Oh, that's already a pretty decent platform, isn't it? Replaced a keyboard a few months ago, and it was pain to get it replaced. Yeah, that's definitely not as repairable as a framework. kind of want to have a little bit more processing power. The Ryzen 7 and low RAM really becomes a bottleneck quickly. Okay, I can see that. First pot of coffee, only now! That's preposterous. Just kidding. Enjoy the freedom that you have to run your own schedule. It's worth gold. Duke, your message reminds me of something that I would probably suggest looking for an AMD-based laptop as well, because AMD is simply supported much better, especially if it comes to GPU support in the Linux kernel. It's much better than NVIDIA. And so, I mean, if you're going to buy a new laptop, for example, the new Lenovo, what is it called? The Lenovo 13. It's not the ThinkPad, is it? I think it's... Let's see. Since we're talking about AMD... The X13, yeah. The X13 is definitely also a good option. And it's well supported by Linux. And I think you can also get it with a modern Ryzen 7. Yep. So yeah, that's definitely also a great option. I love that it can open 180 degrees, because that makes it so much easier to put it on a laptop stand and getting the screen on eye level. So yeah, that definitely has also something going for it. It's not used though, so if you have any questions, join us on qa.monospacementor.com, where you can get your questions on screen without having to enter an email or creating an account or anything. Simply pop on to the Q&A platform and leave your question anonymously. Don't troll me though. Do you hear me, Balthazar? Alright folks, it's 3 o'clock, which means the office hour is over officially, but we can still get some questions answered if you are quick. I'm still enjoying what is my second coffee today. As I told you in previous streams, I'm not that much of a coffee drinker. I don't brew my coffee in jugs, but I do enjoy a good bean. Any new tech or hardware that is coming out this year or so that you're particularly excited about? You tell me. Because I'm actually not following the developments on that front too closely. I'm quite oblivious, actually, in terms of hardware. I mean, being in the Apple ecosystem basically weaned me off following everything closely, what is available in terms of CPUs and graphics cards and all that stuff. When it came to getting a new machine, I looked at what was available from Apple, and then I picked the one that looked like it most matched my expectations, and that was it. And so even though even if it comes to my Linux workstations, I still buy them mostly pre-built, and so I am actually not really aware of stuff that is going to come out this year, and really I don't know why I would be interested or be following closely what the CPU vendors, for example, are coming up with, or the latest GPU that's available from either AMD or NVIDIA. Because, hey, I have an NVIDIA RTX 3060, and that's more than enough that I need to run my workstation here to do some development in Vim or to run World of Warcraft. And so I have no idea why I would be interested in the latest CPU from Intel and why it has so many performance cores and stuff like that. Hey, Duke, don't get a timeout. So yeah, I'm afraid that's one of the questions that I can't really answer. But if there is anything that you think I should be excited about, let me know in chat. Bertha says the accessibility of managed 2.5 gigabit switches with 10 gigabit uplinks growing is nice. I think that might actually be the area where I'm most interested in hardware, in terms of hardware. Because, yeah, now that I have a NAS, I might be interested in being able to access that with higher performance, maybe do video editing over the network, which would require at least 2.5 gig. But on the other hand, that's really stretching my needs there, because I can easily edit stuff locally on my SSD, and that's it. So yeah, but at least network is what I'm following most closely, mostly by following Raid Owl and Jeff over at Craft Computing on YouTube. They are really fun to watch, and they mostly deal with home lab stuff. So that's where where I have the most insight, but in terms of computing, nope. Am I itching to buy anything this year? I don't think so either. I have basically reached the nadir of what I need and what I want. I have a great studio set up here. I have all the computing power and storage space that I need. I think I'm at peak hardware. Moo joining us as well. Hello. Pulled out my old MacBook and might refurbish them to have a nice little laptop for the kids. That makes perfect sense. That's something that I'm going to do with the old MacBook that my daughter is using at the moment. If she eventually grows out of it or gets a new machine, I'll definitely install Linux on there as well. Because especially the old Intel-based MacBooks are now pretty well supported by Linux, I think. And so that will definitely extend their lifetime until they fall apart completely. There's a career question that I'm happy to try and answer. I'm currently doing a Master of Computer Applications, but I'm interested in cybersecurity. Can you give me what are the paths I should take? Chat might have to help me out there because I'm not too deeply into cybersecurity. People like Betheo, Praxeus, or Balthazar on either here in chat or on the Monospace Discord will be able to answer that from much better experience than me. But I would say if you are seriously interested in cybersecurity, you should get the basics down as well, which means familiarize yourself with the operating systems that you are going to specialize in. I mean, Linux is the best option of familiarizing yourself with an operating system, because you can actually get insight down to the source code level and see how things work and how things are supposed to work, and can be maybe exploited. So before you get too deeply into the high-level security stuff, maybe get down to the bare metal and take a look at operating systems, how things work. And if it comes to Linux system administration, I'll definitely be able to help you there. If you like, there's even the option of getting a mentorship where I do one-on-one coaching with you. That's going to come up with the new community I'm going to launch probably in March. The community is going to be called The Server Room, and it's a paid membership community where I will take you by the hand personally and help you to reach your goals in terms of your career and your skill levels. If that's an option, you should definitely consider it. That's actually a great suggestion, Duke. I might have to get a data center background noise soundtrack to run during our office hours, community hangouts, and community projects which we are going to do. So one of the things that I'm excited about being able to do with this community is doing these community projects where I'll prepare some kind of a system administration or software engineering project, and then we're going to do that project together. Maybe it's about setting up a Mastodon instance with all the components like database and background job management and all these things. Maybe it's going to be setting up a Ruby on Rails application for a specific purpose or something like that. And doing all these things in a guided way where I prepare stuff, I provide you with the tooling and documentation that you need, and then we are going at it and doing some practical work. We're getting our sleeves up and go right into it. And so that is definitely something that I'm very much looking forward to. And we might have to have that data center fan and AC background noise soundtrack running. And yes, if you have any further questions, you can, of course, ask them on our Discord as well. You're more than welcome to join us over there. It's a really friendly bunch of people, and we're more than happy welcoming you and trying to answer your questions in there as well. I will have a limited schedule next week because on Tuesday I'm going to give my Varnish Master course at the same time as the usual slot for the live stream, so no live stream on Tuesday. On Thursday I have an appointment at the hospital, and so I probably won't do a live stream there as well. So I guess it comes down to another office hour on Friday at 2 p.m. UTC, which is also coincidentally my local time, at least until we switch to summertime. And so I guess I'll see you on Friday next week. Let's see if there's anyone who we could raid. So stay for a few more minutes while I'll figure out who we can raid. Oh, why don't we say hello to White Panther? Who says my website performance is disgusting? All right, that's an interesting topic, isn't it? Let's go ahead and raid Salma. And I hope to see you next week on Friday. And until then, take care.